August 7th, 1884. 11:34 a.m. Kicking Horse Pass, British Columbia. Mile 127 of the Canadian Pacific Railway. Thomas Walsh stands at his brake wheel. He's 38 years old. Brakeman. 10 years experience on American railways. He knows trains, knows physics, knows what happens when 240 tons of locomotive and freight cars descend a grade steeper than any mainline railway in North America. He's watching the grade marker, 4.5%. That's not a typo. 4.5% downhill gradient for the next 13 kilometers. Standard railway grade, 2.2%. This is double. This is suicide. The train is moving 8 kilometers per hour. Crawling. But gravity doesn't care about crawling. Gravity wants 240 tons to accelerate. The brake shoes are smoking. He can smell burning metal. The wheels are screaming, and they've descended 200 meters. They have 350 more meters to drop before reaching the valley floor. He knows the mathematics. At 4.5% grade, every 100 meters forward means 4.5 meters down. The train weighs 240 tons. Gravitational acceleration will overpower brake capacity in approximately 4 kilometers if the wheels don't maintain friction. And the brake shoes are already smoking at kilometer 2. He tightens his grip on the brake wheel. Time equals 650 milliseconds, /turns it harder. The shoes press tighter against the wheels. The screaming gets louder. He's calculating survival, calculating whether physics will kill him today. On a grade that should never have been built, on a railway section that will be called Big Hill, the deadliest stretch of track in Canadian Pacific Railway history. Big Hill wasn't supposed to exist. It was a compromise. A dangerous compromise made because the alternative was worse. No railway at all. The Canadian Pacific Railway was Canada's national project, promised in 1871 to convince British Columbia to join Confederation. Transcontinental railway connecting east to west. Time equals 750 milliseconds, Montreal to Vancouver. Binding the nation together. Construction started 1881. The contract required completion by 1891. 10 years to build 3,000 kilometers of railway through wilderness, muskeg, and mountains. The Rocky Mountains were the problem, specifically Kicking Horse Pass. Elevation 1,643 meters, the only practical route through the Rockies on the southern path. The original survey in 1881 proposed a gradual descent using switchbacks and longer routing. Estimated cost, $4.5 million additional. Estimated time, 18 additional months. The Canadian Pacific Railway Company couldn't afford either. Time equals 850 milliseconds, the deadline was fixed, the budget was depleted. The government demanded completion on schedule. The solution? Build it steep, temporary steep. Get trains through the mountains now, fix it properly later. The chief engineer, James Ross, proposed 4.5% grade as temporary solution. Acceptable for short-term operation, would be replaced with proper grades within 5 years. The government approved it in 1883. Construction began 1884. The engineering was insane. Standard railway grade in mountains, 2.2% maximum. Big Hill, 4.5% for 13 kilometers. Time equals 900 milliseconds greater than, that's 572 meters elevation change over 13 kilometers distance. A freight train descending experiences gravitational force, approximately double what brakes can safely counter. The physics don't work. The safety margins don't exist, but they built it anyway. Construction crews laid track down the slope in 1884. Workers understood the danger. The grade was visible. Anyone could see it. Stand at the top, look down, watch the track disappear into the valley, 572 meters below. This wasn't a railway. This was a controlled fall. The first train descended August 1884, cautiously, slowly. Brakes engaged continuously. It worked, barely. The train reached the bottom, brake shoes destroyed, wheels overheated, but it worked. The railway declared the line operational September 1884. The accident started immediately. September 17th, 1884. First runaway, freight train descending Big Hill. Brake failure at kilometer 4, train accelerated, reached 80 kilometers per hour, derailed at curve, 3 crew members killed. the Canadian Pacific Railway installed the first safety switch, a deliberate derailment point that would shunt runaway trains onto a side. Track climbing uphill, using ascending grade to stop momentum, didn't help enough. October 1884, 2 more runaways. November 1884, 1 runaway, 4 deaths. December 1884, railway operations suspended on Big Hill for 1 month while additional safety measures installed. They added 2 more safety switches, positioned at kilometers 5 and 9. They added runaway gravel pits, emergency stops where trains could deliberately derail into soft material rather than continuing out of control. The deaths continued. 1885, 7 documented deaths on Big Hill. 1886, time equals 450 milliseconds, greater than 11 deaths. 1887, 14 deaths. The pattern was consistent: brake failure, runaway acceleration, derailment, crew deaths. Sometimes passengers died too. The public knew. Newspapers called it Death Hill. Railway workers called it the hill that eats trains. The physics were unforgiving. A 240-ton freight train at the top of Big Hill has potential energy equal to its mass times gravity times height. 240,000 kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared times 572 meters equals 1.34 billion joules. That energy converts to kinetic energy during descent. The brakes must dissipate 1.34 billion joules as heat. The brake shoes, cast iron pressing against steel wheels, can handle approximately 600 million joules before failure. The mathematics guarantee brake failure halfway down the hill. The railway knew this. Engineers calculated it, reported it, recommended immediate reconstruction with proper grades. The company responded by adding more safety switches. By 1890, Big Hill had 6 safety switches and 4 runaway gravel pits. The grade remained 4.5%. The workers adapted. Railway crews developed procedures for descending Big Hill safely. Brakemen would set brakes partially at the top, allow controlled descent, release brakes periodically to prevent overheating, reapply gradually. Maintain speed below 15 kilometers per hour. It required skill, timing, and luck. Experienced brakemen survived. Inexperienced brakemen died. Thomas Walsh survived Big Hill 47 times between 1884 and 1886. On his 48th descent, August 12, 1886, his train's brakes failed at kilometer 7. The train accelerated, reached 65 kilometers per hour, hit safety switch at kilometer 9, diverted onto runaway track, climbed 40 meters uphill before momentum exhausted, stopped. Thomas walked away. Quit railway work the next day, moved to Vancouver, never rode a train again. If you want to see how railway workers survived the deadliest grade in Canadian railway history and why it took 25 years to fix it, hit that like button. It helps us share these forgotten engineering disasters. Subscribe if you haven't already. Back to Big Hill. The death toll reached 200 confirmed fatalities by 1900. 200 workers and passengers killed on 13 kilometers of track over 16 years. The Canadian Pacific Railway tried various solutions: stronger brake shoes, additional locomotives, speed restrictions, experienced crew requirements. None addressed the fundamental problem. The grade was too steep. The company finally committed to permanent solution in 1906. Not because of deaths, because of operational costs. Big Hill limited freight capacity. Trains could only carry 50% normal load on descent. Required extra locomotives. Required brake shoe replacement every 3 descents. Cost approximately $40,000 annually in 1906 dollars, equivalent to $1.2 million today. The deaths were acceptable. The costs were not. The solution? Spiral tunnels. 2 massive spiral tunnels bored through Cathedral Mountain and Mount Ogden, creating figure-8 loops inside the mountains. This allowed the railway to gain the same 572 meters elevation change, but spread over 28 kilometers instead of 13, reducing grade to 2.2%. Construction began 1907, completed 1909, cost $1.5 million. The spiral tunnels opened August 1909. The last train descended Big Hill, August 31st, 1909. The track was abandoned in place Bombard, Beamords, too expensive to remove. Nature reclaimed it. Trees grew through the ties, rails rusted, the grade became a hiking trail. Big Hill operated 25 years, killed. Approximately 250 people, 200 confirmed, 50 estimated from incomplete records. That's 10 deaths per year on 13 kilometers of track. The deadliest railway section in Canadian history. And it was called temporary for all 25 years. The survivors rarely spoke about it. Railway workers who descended Big Hill carried the experience silently. Some developed what we'd now call PTSD, nightmares about runaway trains, refusal to work on descending grades, anxiety around railway operations. The Canadian Pacific Railway offered no compensation, no counseling, no recognition, just a notation in service records. Worked Big Hill, 1884 to 1909. The legacy of Big Hill is visible today. The spiral tunnels still operate. Every Canadian Pacific freight train through the Rockies uses them. Highway 1 parallels the old Big Hill route. Tourists can hike the abandoned grade, see the remains of safety switches, stand where Thomas Walsh stood in 1884 and look down 572 meters and imagine descending that grade in a train with inadequate brakes and certain knowledge that physics wanted to kill you. There's a plaque now, installed by Parks Canada in 1998, located at the top of Big Hill. Reads, Big Hill 1884 to 1909, steepest mainline railway grade in North America, 4.5% spore. Gradient, replaced by spiral tunnels, engineering milestone, doesn't mention the deaths, doesn't list the 250 names, doesn't explain that this engineering milestone was actually an engineering failure that killed people for 25 years, because fixing it properly cost too much until operational costs exceeded death costs. Some things don't fit on plaques. You can't engrave the specific sound of brake shoes failing on a 4.5% grade. You can't memorialize Thomas Walsh's calculation, the mathematics of survival, the decision to walk away after descent number 47, the knowledge that 48 was when his luck would fail. You can't capture the 25-year period when Canada's National Railway operated a section of track where physics guaranteed failure and death was considered acceptable temporary cost. But here's what remains. Big Hill existed because completing the railway on schedule mattered more than building it safely. 250 people died because proper engineering cost $4.5 million in 1883, and the company chose to spend $1.5 million in 1907 instead. After 25 years of deaths, proved that operational costs finally exceeded acceptable casualty rates. The spiral tunnels work perfectly. Trains descend smoothly, safely, at 2.2% grade. No brake failures, no runaways, no deaths. Time equals 1,650 milliseconds, / exactly as it should have been in 1884, but it wasn't, because 250 lives were cheaper than $4.5 million in 1883, and only became expensive enough to matter after 25 years of dying. Big Hill is gone, the grade is abandoned, the tracks are rusted, trees grow through ties, hikers walk where trains descended, and the 250 dead are commemorated by silence. No monument, no memorial, just absence. The absence of their names, the absence of acknowledgement, the absence of recognition that they died on a railway grade that never should have been built.